Everybody, welcome back to Grover Museum. I'm so happy that you can make it in today. I think we have a really great episode of Characters in the Collection coming up here. For those who were unable to tune into last week's episode, Characters in the Collection is going to be a new series that we release every week where we take a person or a character from our long history here in Shelby County and match up a character trait with them that we feel that person exemplifies through a story that we know about them. Last week we chose perseverance, and with that we paired it up with a guy named Judge William Peasley, who was able to kind of lay the foundation of the first train to come to Shelbyville or be in Shelbyville that opened way for the future train industry to actually cement its legacy here. This week we are choosing the topic of generosity, this idea of someone giving more than is expected or asked of themselves. And we decided that the person that we wanted to focus in on, that we thought really represented this idea of generosity, of giving back, was a guy named Julius Joseph. Mr. Joseph was a German immigrant who came to the United States in the late 1800s and then to Cincinnati, where he started sort of learning the clothing industry as an apprentice. From there, him and his brother moved to Shelbyville in 1877, where they opened up a men's clothing store on the northeast corner of Public Square, where it connects to East Washington. They did really well in this industry, and so well, in fact, that they had enough capital that they could begin investing into the emerging furniture industry that was kind of making its way here in the community. This was made possible, again, by that train industry that we talked about last week. Without that new technology, Shelbyville would have never been put on the map as a little Grand Rapids. We actually have a post that we put up earlier this week on the wood shop upstairs in the woodworking shop. So if you check that out, you'll see a little bit more about the furniture industry that was here and prevalent in Shelbyville and Shelby County. Mr. Joseph invested with his brother in a furniture industry or in a furniture company called Hodel Furniture. The main thing with Hodel was that they supplied predominantly or principally to Montgomery Ward and Sears. By 1902, both Julius and Jonas, his brother, were made executives in this company. So Julius actually became the president, and his brother Jonas became the vice president. Despite his success, he was also a very giving individual. So much so that when his nephew began working for and opening up his own furniture store or furniture company here in Shelbyville called Root, he actually gave him an investment. He actually invested in his nephew's furniture company to see him succeed. That company later on became Albert Furniture. When Mr. Joseph passed away in 1920, he, in his will, continued that kind of idea of generosity, of giving. He gave $1,000 to the Clifton Jewish Cemetery in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is about $12,000 today. He also gave $1,000 to the Jewish Orphan Asylum of Cleveland, Ohio, and $500 to the Jewish Old Men's Home of Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's about $6,500 there. In addition to all of that, he also gave $500 to the Jewish Hospital of Cincinnati and $500 to anybody that was in need here in Shelbyville, Indiana. So again, that's about $6,500 that he gave to help anybody that needed the assistance. But the big thing that he's known for, the thing that we still see every single day, that he has sort of this legacy in our community on, is the fountain that's in the middle of Public Square. So if you've ever passed the fountain and you've wondered where it came about or how it came about, it was actually by this gentleman here, Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph actually gave $5,000 for the construction of the fountain in his will, which is about $65,000 today, give or take. And this was something, of course, that he would never live to see. This was a bequest, and simply because he wanted to see the community beautified, in this space, this very public space that people engage in. He wanted to make sure that it was a positive engagement. So that was how he kind of impacted on the local level. Of course, he wasn't the one that constructed it. They actually had a guy named George Honig come in, who was from Evansville, Indiana, a really popular and famous sculpture artist at the time, and what he did was he incorporated a lot of elements from Mr. Joseph's life that he felt was sort of paying homage to the gentleman that made this possible. If you've ever looked at it, you'll see that there's 3 children at the top of it. And where that comes about is that Mr. Joseph, while living, invested heavily in sort of the rec activities for the children in our community. So sports, hiking activities, outdoor life, things like that, Mr. Joseph gave significantly to, and always had a kind of soft spot in his heart for. And so that's why we have the children that are standing at the top of the fountain there. Before it was taken down originally, there were also little pendants that you would see, kind of 6 of them along the outside of it, each representing a different season. I said 6, and you're probably thinking, what? There's not 6 seasons. And the idea is 4 were the standard seasons that we know, and then harvest and planting season as well were the 2 that were kind of added on there, representing sort of the life and time of Shelbyville and Shelby County, Indiana here. Finally, the mainstay on it was what you kind of see sitting in front of you. So for those that can't see in the camera here what I'm talking about, we've got, it says Joseph Fountain, and it was finished in 1922, and the gentleman's face, Mr. Joseph's face, is put onto the plaque here. This was given over in the 1980s, donated to the museum when they were reconstructing the fountain, and they couldn't see a way that they could put this back on for safekeeping. And so we've had it in our collection since then. We're really fortunate that we're able to tell this story about the impact that this gentleman had and about the way that he gave and in a very meaningful and caring way to make our community a better and more beautiful place. In the comments below, what I want to hear is if you guys have had any stories that you've ever heard that kind of relate to generosity. Every week we want to sort of get that conversation going, that we can learn a little bit more about our community through those who live it, right? Out in the community, I'm sure that you all have heard a story or 2 that we here at the Historical Society haven't been able to enjoy yet. So if you could just put them in the comments below or send us a message with that story, we'd love to hear it. I'll give you a jump start also on next week's. We're going to be talking about ingenuity, this idea of being innovative. So if you have any people that you think should be represented in this, or that you feel lives up to that moniker, again, hit it in the comments below or send us a message. I thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed a little bit about the history here of Shelbyville and Shelby County. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and have a good day.